And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. You know the drill, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Go to the app. They will bring it right to your front door pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Or go down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your order. Get you some of that Galactic goodness. It's out of this world. All right, Aaron. The preview show is in the books. Now it feels real. Dave and I have made our predictions. Do you want to? I went 7-5. Dave went 6-6. Without telling us game by game, what is Aaron going with?
Considering that I've said it for weeks now that my floor has been 6, my ceiling has been 8. So I'll go 7-5 right now without looking at each individual game.
I mean, you just listen to us do it for 90 minutes.
I know, and I'm saying
you were playing NCAA 14 back in the background, weren't you?
I didn't miss a beat as far as the timestamps went.
That's not what I asked, was it?
The headphones were on the whole time, and playing NCAA 14 is mindless at this point. I mean, it's.
Oh, I love it. All right, the topic of the day for us, we'll slide you over. The conference commissioners had a meeting today on the expanded playoff format, which has been agreed upon at 12 for the 2024 and 2025 seasons. The working model was 6+6, 6 conference automatic qualifiers, 6 at-large bids. Now that the Pac-12 is
all but dead,
mostly dead, we have moved, and I've got an interesting thought on that. I don't know. It depends on what else happens, but anyhow, this is now kind of topic. It's not topic A, but it's one of the main topics as to the future of where things go. Take us through it.
Well, right now, the presented format as a possible change to the expanded playoff, instead of going 6 in and 6 of the at-large teams, which would have included all 5 of your Power 5 conferences.
No.
The
6 would be the top team from the 6 highest rated conference champions. So in most years, that would be the P5 plus one. But there have been times where that Power 5 conference finished 7th.
And even if the Pac-12 was still alive, the Pac-12 would honestly probably be the one that would be most worried as to if they would be included in these 6 top.
Yes, probably not this year because they do have.
Even if no one else left, I think they would still have been the one. But I think the Pac-12 has been a joke of a conference for the better part of a decade.
You can't say that right now about this year.
Sure, I can.
USC, Utah, Washington, Oregon. They have 4 or 5 teams that are considered high level, but it's like this, right? Because if you go back 10 years ago, they were the number 1 rated conference.
That doesn't mean that you wouldn't have had the rest of the conference dragging them down. We're getting in the minutia of it all. Sure. In any case,
that's what I do here. I argue with you for the fun of it.
I'm not surprised. So it would have been, to your point, yes, the 6
highest rated conference champions.
Correct. And then 6 at large. Now they're looking at 5 and 7, which would include the at least 1 spot for the group of 5 of that would be included.
If it depends on what becomes of the Pac-12. Like,
no, it doesn't.
Say something interesting.
No, it doesn't, because in the actual article, it says such a model preserves at least one spot for a group of 5 champion and honors what MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher describes as the bedrock principle of the expanded playoff, the value of conference champions.
Assuming the Pac-12 goes away. That's assuming that there's the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and then everybody else. Right? Like,
it would be the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So if you only have 4 conferences left and you still have one of the G5, you would assume.
I'm going to get to something here in a minute that I want to get your opinion on. That's why I've been setting this up. I'm working a bit here, Aaron.
Okay.
You want me to get to that?
Well, I guess we can finish discussing. We can finish discussing the article here before we get to what your proposal is. They did accomplish something here instead of just providing groundwork, a skeleton, if you will, for if all of the dust settles and you do end up without a Pac-12. They did accomplish. They are going to continue providing $3,000 travel stipend to the families of each player participating in the CFP. By the way, this article does all come from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo.
ESPN. Why? Okay, yeah, you're
right. Just wanted to put that out there as I'm reading straight from an article. So, and they have hired a company to assist in lodging logistics for the 4 first round teams that make it, which is going to be Collegiate Sports Travel. Seems like a super original name.
Where'd they come up with that one?
I don't. That was quite the brainstorm. God. And then I guess the other things that came up were, I don't know. Apparently, the ACC stuff came up in conversation there because they were supposed to meet, and then you had the shooting that happened at UNC, which delayed the meeting. Although it baffles me that Notre Dame has a vote in all of this, considering,
of course,
they are independent, and
they are not.
They are.
They are independent in football.
Then they should only be able to vote on things that are football related, not for the betterment of the entire conference. It's stupid.
Well, where this gets cloudy is that they have agreed to play 4 ACC teams every year as part of their connection to the ACC. And guess who Notre Dame has a long-term historic relationship with? Stanford. So guess what Notre Dame's trying to do?
Push Stanford and Cal.
Put Stanford and Cal into their new friend group over here. So Notre Dame is calling the shots. Well, what happens what have we seen? What have we experienced when something like this happens? Let's say in a conference like the Big East, where football was driving the bus, and then basketball decided they wanted their own bus. The schools that didn't have football, well, we're not being treated the same as the schools that do have football, and or back and forth, and then a split. Notre Dame is doing what Notre Dame does, which is what they should do, by the way. They are looking out. No, they are looking out for the best interest of Notre Dame. They don't give a shit about North Carolina, Clemson. Go back and look at who Notre Dame really cares about, right? Michigan, Stanford, USC. How many ACC schools are on that list that, like, Notre Dame goes out of their way to play games in Ireland or put on their schedule every year? None.
I can't name one.
None. Right. Boston College, because it's like the Irish capital of America. So, that's the one school Notre Dame actually fucks with. But so you have Notre Dame in there stirring this pot, and Clemson and North Carolina and Florida State are looking at this and going, what are they doing calling the shots?
Well, they don't not only that, I would imagine as the ACC is sitting here wondering, how are we going to fix this TV contract and get to where we're making more money? Why would
By
you
kissing Notre Dame's ass.
But why would you add more teams when I don't believe there's anything pro rata in that contract?
Oh no, you haven't seen what they're trying to do?
Well, they're trying to basically short end Stanford, Cal, and SMU to where they make
SMU
no money.
has kind of agreed to make no money for 7 years. We
Which,
won't take $1 off TV for 7 years.
but at some point, everyone else is going to be making less money, and at that point, I think everyone else has an exit strategy.
Oh, they like there's a bunch of them that are still exploring their exit strategy
Right now. Sure.
So yeah, but of course Notre Dame is meddling because they are out for the best interest of Notre Dame. And what's not in the best interest of Notre Dame? Stanford not being someone they can go play every year and beat.
Oh, and they would still beat them. Stanford would just be terrible.
Right. So they need Stanford in the club.
I don't care.
I know.
About
I'm just
Stanford.
saying.
I just don't care enough about Stanford or Cal to care if they land on their feet.
The people that root for Stanford and Cal don't care enough about Stanford and Cal. That's why they're in the situation they're in.
Correct. And you could almost make that argument for USC and UCLA as far as football goes.
Well, USC still has people that care about USC.
Not football. This week.
Well,
there were 40 people in the stands.
Nah, it was full except for the corners, but there were spots that were open because
we saw different pictures.
Have you ever been to LA?
No.
Okay. If you've been to LA, Pasadena is not close. It is not close to LA. It is awesome.
That's no one's problem but USC's.
It would essentially be, Aaron, if UC built their football stadium where like the racetrack is in Sparta, Kentucky.
Cry me a river, build me a bridge, and get over it. I don't care.
They have lots of money though.
Then they should shuttle people in, buy them helicopters to bring people. I don't care. Fill the stadium or get over yourselves.
Yeah, the filling stadiums doesn't matter anymore.
Even winning doesn't fill the stadium.
No, it's TV ratings. Nobody wants to drive to Pasadena. I can tell you, in LA traffic, fucking nobody wants to drive to Pasadena.
I don't even think people in LA are watching the USC games. I think the people watching USC games are if they gambled on it, is what you mean. Or the people watching USC are everywhere else in the country. Everyone in LA has everything better to do than watch USC. For good reason.
I lived in LA. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of
good reason.
A lot of fun things to do out there. The other thing. So here's something, and I guess ultimately, as we like dig to the root of this, it doesn't matter. But we are almost to a situation where Washington State and Oregon State are going to be left standing. You know what they're going to own? The name, the Pac-12.
Potentially.
No, if Stanford and Cal leave, the Pac-12 is still going to be a on-paper entity.
It depends on how stubborn Mike Oresco is. If he ends up with Washington State and Oregon State as the AAC
that's what I'm going to get to.
As they're looking to expand, but you also have
what's the biggest mistake? What for 12 years, as I said, the biggest mistake that the American Athletic Conference made?
Badging themselves the American Athletic Conference?
No, close. Selling the Big East name to the basketball schools.
Sure.
Because Mike Oresco, the AAC, what became the AAC, owned the name.
And I think that, truthfully, the only commissioner who's gone out to both Washington State and Oregon State at this time is the commissioner of the Mountain West. And that would be a brilliant move by the Mountain West because nobody gives a shit about the name Mountain West. And all of a sudden, if you're now the Pac-12 instead of the Mountain West.
Now you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Sure.
And guess what? Like, this is what I talked about the longest time with the American Athletic Conference. Nobody, kids in the South grew up wanting to play in the SEC. Kids in the Midwest grew up wanting to play in the Big Ten. Kids in the Southwest grew up wanting to play in the Big 12. Kids on the West Coast grew up wanting to play in the Pac-12. Nobody fucking ever in the history of ever has grown up wanting to play in the American Athletic Conference. Nobody in the history of ever has grown up wanting to play in the Mountain West.
Look, if the name Pac-12 survives, Bill Walton survives. If the Pac-12 goes, Bill Walton dies.
He might die. They might have to bury him immediately.
And his tombstone will just say, here lies Bill Walton and the Pac-12.
But you are potentially in a situation where one of those two leagues, the American or the Mountain West, would make obviously a lot more sense for the Mountain West.
Way more sense.
Where they buy that property or they buy that name or they just absorb it because they took in Oregon State and Washington State, and now all of a sudden there is still a Pac-12 by name. Obviously, everybody knows it's not the same. But guess what? We have to listen to people talk about the Big East being the fucking Big East with Xavier and Creighton and like what?
This is why I'm rooting even harder for the ACC to say, fuck you, Cal, fuck you, Stanford, fuck you, SMU, and move along to where Stanford and Cal are throwing a lifeline also to either wherever Oregon State and Washington State end up. And sure, take the Pac-12.
Oh, they never go to the ACC. Never, ever.
I
never
want them. I want them to actually have to, after looking down from their ivory towers at everyone else, poo-pooing on everyone else joining our prestigious Pac-12 conference.
Sure.
No, you need to
themselves. You're right.
You need to beg the hood rats of
Memphis. No, that's what I love. That's what I love about like potentially this ending up in the hands of Oregon State and Washington State, who were never the snobs. They were the kids they were the kids on the wrong side of the tracks. Right.
The whipping boys, yes.
Right. They were the kids that lived in the trailer park just on the other side of the tracks. Now they own the Pac-12 name and they get to carry on and be the stewards of the Pac-12 going forward. I fucking love it.
The best part would be if George Kliakov had to come with them as part of that whole deal and he ended up in charge of the Mountain West and could bury another conference.
That would be great. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow night. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.